Hi everyone. I was trying to adjust the camera because it fell off after the last class and I never really repositioned it, but um, seems like we're on a bit of an angle here, but I'm going to leave good enough alone because I don't want to knock it down. So I think it'll be okay to work with tonight. I don't think I said so in the supply list, but we're going to need some scrap paper. I pretty much always have scrap paper, so I guess I never think to say it, but if you don't have any in front of you, you might want to grab a couple of sheets. These are the 4 cards we're going to be making tonight. And we're going to be doing some coloring. And so I'm going to be using alcohol markers. I've bought some more since the last class where we used them, but you're welcome to use any kind of markers you have, or colored pencils, or even watercolors if you wanted to do that. I'd like to do some more classes with watercolors, but I haven't gotten around to that yet, so stay tuned, hopefully. Oh, and I do need to grab my foam tape. Okay, Lindsay, hope you found your chair. All right. And if your cards are not scored and folded already, you're going to need your scoreboard. All right, I think we're going to start with the bird first. So you can get out your kit for that. That's the one with the blue cardstock. It's Sapphire is the color. And okay, so this is an 11-inch long piece of cardstock, and I'm just going to score it at 5.5 inches. When I find there we go, my tool. Leave that out, otherwise I'll never find it again for the next one. And I got to remember to push all my pieces up a little bit so they're in the camera. Okay, so for this class, I used the it's called Floating By to Say Hi stamp set. And so this is one of the promotional items for the September was promotion for that, but the promotion lasts through October, so everything's still available. So you can buy the stamp set, you can buy the stamp set plus the thin cuts. You can also buy a bundle, which is what I bought, which also comes with these are the thin cuts for the stamps, but you can also get this thin cut that makes the cloud background. And then if you buy this, you also get the stencil for the clouds, but I'm going to show you how to use a paper stencil for that, because you can't buy the stencil just separately, which I'm not quite sure why, but this is the stencil. which I know you can't really see on camera, but um, I'm not sure why they decided to do that, but they did. So, so what I did here for this card was I cut out, I used the die cut of the clouds to cut this out of white cardstock. And then I cut it slightly smaller so we would have our standard 1/8 inch border around the edge. So, as you can see, this die cut, it has this stitched line, and you'll see that better when we get to another card where we use the full stencil. Um, and so I just cut on those stitch lines to make it a little smaller. And then we're going to cover up this side of the stencil. So I did cut it a little short so it would fit on the card for everybody. I'll just get a piece of scrap paper here. So with this stencil, you can attach it a couple of different ways. Especially since I cut off the sides, you don't have a lot of room here for tape. So you could, if you're going to use a tape or adhesive, you can put it in the bigger areas. You can use a really skinny tape, like the 1/8 inch tape, or I'm just going to use some glue because then I can get into those smaller areas a little easier. And can you, yeah, I guess you can see it on the white. Just putting it on the scrap paper so I don't get it on my mat. Not that my mat is all that neat these days. So I don't want to put a ton because you don't want it oozing out. But I just, I want to get into some of those smaller areas so it sticks down well. So this is a needle nose top on my glue, which makes it a little easier to get a small amount out. And I'm gonna basically centering it on the card because I cut down this piece so it would fit on the card centered. But really, if it doesn't fit quite right, the important thing is to have that 1/8 inch border at the top on the right side and on the bottom. That's what we're looking for. We're not so worried about this left side here because you can see we're going to put this piece of striped paper. I didn't hear back from you, Lindsay. I assume you found your chair by now. I hope you did anyway. Okay, so the rule of thumb is if you're using glue, you can use tape on top of glue, but you shouldn't use glue on top of tape. And that's because of how it holds things down. So I put the glue down first. I'm okay to use tape. Okay, well, glad you got something on top of it. So I'm going to use my piece of striped paper here, and I'm going to use my adhesive on this. Some people use glue to assemble everything, and that's perfectly fine. I just sometimes make a mess with glue, so I like the adhesive better. So I'm going to put this on the left side of the card. And in my case, my piece is the right size, so I can just line it up with the edge. But really, you want to, again, you want that 1/8 inch border. So if your piece was a little short, just make sure you line this up so you get that 1/8 inch border on the left side. And you'll be covering up some of the clouds. My camera seems amazingly clear tonight. I don't, after I was having so much trouble with it, it's like maybe knocking it over actually helped it. I don't know. Let me see what I did here. Okay. So this piece, you want to test your shimmer trim and make sure it is the same height as both your stripe piece and your cloud piece, which is 5¼ inches. And I'm pretty sure I cut everybody's to the correct size, but you just might want to check it before you put it down. And you have some flexibility about where you want to put it. You can put it, if you wanted to see more of the stripes, you could put it, you know, to the right of the striped paper and cover up more of those clouds. I'm going to kind of center it over over the intersection of those two pieces. And this is a retired color of shimmer trim. This has it has the sticky on it, so that backing that's difficult to get off. It's called, I think it was called Coral, but the melon color that is a current color is similar. It's a little lighter than this. This is a little bolder, which works well with this other paper. But if you wanted something similar, that melon would work nicely. Okay, now you should have in your packet, and I think I put these all separate. I'm sorry, I packed these up a couple weeks ago, and I just packed up a new card kit, so sometimes I don't remember exactly how I did it, but I think I gave you all a bag of clouds, and these clouds came, like, every time I cut out this die, you got all these clouds. So I gave you all your clouds in a little bag, and we're going to use a big one and a small one. So you can dig through your bag and find a big one and a small one, and you'll have lots of left over after this class. So you can put more on, make more cards. I thought it would be cute to put some on the inside. I'm going to go ahead and put these pieces on in the inside for now. I didn't say, but I think sorry, I'm getting over COVID, so my brain is not exactly functioning too well these days. But I scored on the darker side. The darker side is on the outside, and the lighter side is on the inside. But I cut these two strips of striped paper to put on the inside, and they're slightly different widths. So I put the wider one at the bottom about 1/4 inch, not quite 1/4 inch, but more than 1/8 inch from the bottom. And my strip is a little wider than my card, so I'm just gonna trim it. And then the narrower strip, I'm going to put at the top, again, the same distance. And when I put this strip on, I'm going to make sure that the stripes are actually in the same order. I don't want to turn it around. That's just like a little detail thing. So it looks kind of all the way down, even though there's that space in between. And of course, my is wider too, so I'm just going to trim that. Be cute, you know, to use some of these clouds on the inside too, if you wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and do that because it's cute. And I'm just going to use some glue on this piece too, since it's a weird shape. Not too much. If the die doesn't make a bigger cloud, but if I was so inclined, I might cut one out freehand myself, and then you could stamp the message on that, or write a message on a bigger cloud in the middle. That would be a cute idea. All right, so now I need another bigger cloud for the outside. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and color our bird and our balloon. So the stamp set, so it comes with a balloon that doesn't have anything in it, but then there are several different sentiment stamps that all fit in the balloon, so you can stamp whatever you want in the balloon. So I use several of them on these cards. We'll see them on all the other cards, but there's a couple more too. So so I'm gonna color my bird with light yellow marker, and I'm using the medium color. If you took the other class, the Party Facts class, where we use the alcohol ink, you'll know that these markers, they're called tri-blend markers, and they have 3 different shades in each marker. And there's a light and a medium and a dark, and it's so you can blend. But I want to go ahead and start with the medium because I want a little deeper color in my bird than the lighter shade. So I'm coloring the whole bird with the medium color, and I'm going to come in with the darker color and add some shading. I'm going to add some shading on his belly, where those lines are, and his tail, his wingtips, top of his wing there, and I'm coloring over kind of the line between the 2 colors, the intersection, and that helps blend. Now, the impact of this color of that blending is not as big as some of the colors because it is such a light yellow to begin with. But that is the idea of how these markers work. So I'm going to color his, this is coral, I'm just going to color his beak. And obviously it's a tiny spot, so it doesn't need to be blended. And then I colored his hat both coral and blue in the stripes, so that the section closest to his head, and then skip one, and then the next one will be coral. And I use the dark color on that. And I'm gonna, this is true blue, and I'm gonna use the medium on those other 2 stripes. I'm gonna pick this up and show it to you, so hopefully you can see it. Wow, I'm gonna color the blue the darker because that was awfully light. Maybe it didn't really have time to soak into the paper. That's a little better. So, and now I'm going to color very large area. And this one, you'll be, on the balloon here, you'll be able to see that differentiation between the blends a little better. So I'm going to color the whole balloon in with the light blue first. And one thing with I've never liked coloring big areas with markers because you can see all the stroke marks. That's why I kind of like the colored pencils better, because they're softer and you can blend them a little easier. But these alcohol markers, as you go, go over them with the different shades and blend them together, those stroke marks disappear. They blend in together and makes them look really nice. So that was, I colored in the whole balloon with the lighter shade. Now I'm going to add the medium shade, and I'm kind of going to curve it because, a balloon is round, so a shadow is going to be curved. And I can go ahead and get that light shade out again and blend over that intersection line to make it a little softer and blend it together. And now I'm going to use the darkest and make a darker area here right down at the bottom. And the little tie area. And then I'm going to take the medium again and blend over that intersection. I think I used so much of the medium blue already that I might need to refill. These markers are refillable. You can add more ink to them, so I might have to do that. Now I went outside my line here, so I'm going to take my white gel pen and color over that area. And cover that up. Yeah, this, I guess my marker's getting dry already, because look at how much darker that balloon is than this one. But if I wanted to make it a little darker, whoops, I'm going over it with the light again. And the more layers you add, the deeper the color gets. I'm going to have to read dark. Time I add the darker color, I'm going back over the intersection with the lighter color to blend them together to make the wash a little softer. So there we go. So that added a little extra color to it. This one's still darker. But the nice thing about the darker colors is that, or the having the three colors, is I could go ahead, and if this is too light for me, I can go ahead and do the whole thing in the medium and make it a little deeper, which maybe that's what I did the first time, and maybe that's why it seems darker to me. But that's all we do to color them. Okay, I just saw your question, Lindsay. Should you use a different ink to stamp with alcohol markers? Yes, you absolutely should use a different ink. It has to be an ink that will not bleed. For close to my heart, we have this pad that's called Intense Ink. It's a solvent-based permanent ink, acid-free. That solvent base is what's important. All regular inks are water-based, and if you use a water-based ink with an alcohol marker, it's going to run. The ink is going to run. Now, I will say you can, if you're doing light coloring and it's completely dry, you might get away with a little bit, but not for intense coloring. And especially on this balloon where I stamped this Make-A-Wish in the middle of it, if that was a water-based ink, there was no way you'd be able to color over it without that ink bleeding. So you want a solvent-based ink like this Intense Black. And you also want to use those for like watercolors. That would be the same thing. A water-based marker, it's not as critical. You can use a water-based ink. So I'm going to put foam tape on the back of both these images and on the back of my two clouds. Now you could color these clouds if you want. You could add a little color to them. I'm not going to add color to these. I'm going to show you on a different card one way to add color to them. But these I'm just going to leave white. Now, the string on the balloon and the string coming that the bird is holding are very, very skinny. So if you're going to add foam tape to those areas, you have to have a very skinny piece. And if you don't want to futz with it, they'll probably be okay without it. But I was able to cut skinny pieces. And then like right here, the kind of the loop that the bird has in his string, that's slightly bigger. So you can put a little square in there. That's probably the easiest place to put a piece of foam tape. Okay. And so actually what I'm going to do here is I'm taking the backing off of the foam tape on both the bird and the balloon. And because I want that string on the two pieces to kind of line up, so I want to kind of put them down at the same time. I don't want to put the bird down at such a weird angle that I can't get the string to line up. Just gonna put the clouds on. And then we're going to put on some sparkles. And you know, when I put sparkles on cards, I like to put a little bit of extra glue down just as a precaution. Totally your choice. You only want a little tiny drop because they're not very big. And often, even with a little drop, some glue will squirt out the sides, but the glue will dry clear, so it'll look okay when your card is dry. And there you go. Right. We're going to do this guy next. Now, it's a big mystery as to what this animal is, because when I first looked at him, I went, oh, it's a fox. And then when I colored him, I'm like, is he really a fox? And then I thought, oh, he's a raccoon. But no, he's not a raccoon because he doesn't have a mask around his eyes and he doesn't have a striped tail. And some people were saying, well, maybe he's a badger, but we kind of don't know what he is. I am going to go with a fox, but I'm going to color him slightly different than I did here because I saw somebody else's coloring and I thought that looked better. Like basically color in this kind of V and then keep his face white. You can see what I do and decide which one you like better, but he's cute, just not sure what animal he is. If you have an idea, let me know. We had tried coloring in the whole thing. I didn't really like that, but I'll put it here in case you want to see it. So this is a standard size card, which is 5.5 by 8.5. So on the 8.5 inch side, we're going to score it 4 1/4. The the cloud die here is 4 1/4 by 5.5. So it fits, as you can see, it fits perfectly on the front of the card. If you wanted to have a border around it, you would have to make a slightly bigger card and then have a slightly bigger envelope too. So the first thing we're going to do with this one is color the background. And this is where you want to have your ink. And I used Capri, which is a light aqua kind of color. Any kind of bluish sky color is going to work for you. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get a bunch of my clouds out. And you don't need that many because you'll see I just put on 2. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these back in like a puzzle here into my dies, into the spots where they came out of. Now, if you had just cut yours, it'd be a lot easier to fit them back in. They might even be dangling. for you to kind of hold them into place while you put them on your piece of paper. Um, it's a little more challenging since I cut them for you and put them in a bag, but I'm going to put it in there anyway because it's good. Like I said, you don't have to, you don't need all of them. You just want to make sure they're actually in there and they're not covering up the edges of your die cut. And you can see that we're doing this because some of these clouds are colored. So this is one of the ways to have your clouds colored. You can also color them separately if you wanted to. You know, I thought these were all the same shape, but they're obviously not quite the same shape. All right, I'm not gonna worry about putting these last few in because I just need to have a couple of them. Does that fit there? Oh, that fits there. All right, so that's good enough. The other thing is you want to decide which is the top of your sky. And I have it sitting so that this this single cloud is at the top. And you can do it that way or turn it around, whichever way better. The you want to have a deeper and have it fade out. I'm going to, and you can use any, you can use it just stress oxide, you can use one of these pads, you know, you can use any ink you have. And I'm just getting some ink on my brush. And I already have some ink on here because I didn't wash my brush after the last time. So just to warn you. And I'm going to start at the top. And I'm using a circular motion. If you don't have one of these brushes, you could also use one of these as well. Or even just a makeup sponge would work. When you use a makeup sponge, though, make sure you curl it because you want to try to get a rounded edge and not those corners as much. So I am just using a circular motion, and I already knocked my sky piece off, so don't worry. And I'm just, see, it stayed in a lot easier when I took it right out of the die. So the other thing, you could always use some removable tape on the back of it if you really wanted to hold them in place. And I just want to keep adding color until it is as intense as I want it to be. And if they are too difficult to stay and don't want to stay in place, don't worry about it. And that one's already colored quite a bit, so I'm not going to worry about it having come out. And as you can see, the stitched lines are picking up some more color than the flat areas. These clouds are already fairly intensely colored, so as they pop out, I'm just going to let them pop out. How wet your ink pad is and how deep the color is going to make a difference of what color you get on your background here. And as I come down, I want the most intense color at the top, and I want it to be light as we go down. So I'm not going to push as hard. I'm not going to worry about that one. And I'm not going to go over it as many times as I come down because I want the color to fade out. I do want to put that cloud back in because I just want some color on. And now I'm good. If you're really struggling to keep those clouds in and you want to put some more color on them, any kind of tool, I'm trying to find my tweezers, but if your fingers were in the way and you were trying to hold them, I don't want the tweezers. I'm going to use my bone folder here. You can just hold it down. You can hold it down with your fingers or tool and just add the color that way. I'm going to turn it around, get some color on the bottom. So that's another way to color the clouds if they're not staying in place for you. This one, these two are really, really blue. So I have a variety of different shadings here. I'm just going to go back to my background and add a little more. And I'm going to leave it white at the very bottom. Now, this ink, just like the alcohol inks, it kind of soaks into the paper and it lightens as it dries. And so it'll look a little different when it's dry. When you pick it up, you have all your clouds. Now, my color looks a little different here than it does on the card because, like I said, I left some ink on my brush. I didn't wash out my brush in between uses, so I'm getting a little bolder around the clouds. And like I said, it's soaking into where the stitched lines are. So there we go. It definitely looks bluer on the camera. It's more of an aqua in real life. So you can make it as bold as you want. The brush versus the sponge is going to give it a different look too. Trying to see if I have a blue sponge. I do. I think it's a different ink, but we'll try it anyway. I'm just going to say, if you're using one of these sponges, be a little, and really with the brush too, just be careful around the edges because you don't want to get it caught and pick it up. See, the sponge is actually putting down even more intense color than the brush was. So if you really want a deeper color, that might be the blending tool you want to use. But if you only have the brush, you just have to keep going over it. It'll eventually get there. I'm just trying to be careful because I could already feel it trying to snag on those points of the cloud. So just be careful as you go over, because you don't want to do all this work of blending the color and then crunch up your cloud, although you could always cover it up with your image if you had to. So okay, now we're getting really intense, so I better stop. So because I didn't cut the edge of this, I have a little more room if I wanted to put a thin tape around the edges, but I'm just going to go ahead and use my glue again. I'm just going to put a small bead around the outside. Not too close to the edge because you don't want it to squirt out the edges. And then I'm just putting a little bit in here to keep it flat against the card. And like I said, this should be the same size as your card. One thing about glue, it's always hard to pick the piece up after you've put glue on it. So I'm lining it up at the fold first, because if it's a little short or a little long on the other side, it's easier to trim it on the cut side of the card than on the fold, because you'd always have to worry about cutting the fold. And I did get a little close to the opening there, so there's a little bit of glue there, but that'll dry. Okay, and so as you notice that the card is slightly bigger than the die cut, just a hair, and I am not going to worry about it because it is so close that I think I'd make more of a mess trimming it off than it is noticeable. I mean, it is noticeable, but it doesn't bother me. If it bothers you, you are welcome to trim it. And now you can see I added that extra color on here, so it's a little more intense than the original sample. So that gives you two ideas. I'm going to go ahead and put my shimmer trim on, which I'm going to put about a ½ inch from the bottom of the card. Again, I'm going to start the piece in line with the folded edge. I'm going to bring it across, and it's slightly longer, but it's easy to cut that excess off the cut edge. And now we can go ahead and color our little critter, whatever he may be. So I'm going to use the same orange that we used on the foxes, which was burnt orange. And I'm going to start with the medium color. And I'm going to color in the whole area that I'm going to color with the medium first. And so I'm getting the tips of his ears. And like I said, I'm going to color him kind of the opposite as I did here. Like I'm taking this from somebody else's image just to see which one I like better. And so I'm going to go ahead and color in the top of his head in this triangular kind of shaped area. And then I'm going to leave the rest of his face white. And that string creates a little strange area on his arm, but I'm going to color that all in because it's really just the string that's creating that spot. And I'm leaving the triangle patch on his chest white. And then I'm going to leave the tip of his tail white as well. So he looks a little different. There's 3 different versions of him right there. I think I like his white face. All right, so now I'm going to add some of the darker color as shading. So on his tail, closest to his body, kind of just outlining his body here. And then just a little bit in the ear area. I don't want it to get too dark. And then I'm just slightly going over the line between the 2 areas with the medium color again, just to soften the blend. And now, see on this one, I actually just used the medium, the light and the medium. This one I'm using the medium and the dark. It's making him a little darker than I did on this sample. So you can decide which one you like better. And then I'm just adding a little shading under that V and under his face. And maybe just going to outline this curved V a little bit. So, I mean, just using the same shade over again will darken the color. So that gives you 2 examples here. So here he's a little lighter and here he's a little darker. So it just depends on what look you like. Yes, the white does make his eyes and mouth more noticeable. All right, so now I'm going to color the balloons. And I'm going to color them like we did the last balloon. And I'm going to use this bright green here, which is light green. And I think the blue I used, no, that's too light. Where is, oh, here it is. Blue turquoise. All right, so I'm going to use the blue turquoise on the plain balloon. And just like I did before, I'm going to color the whole balloon area with the lightest color first. And see, I think you can see that, yeah, you can see those brush strokes. But as we add more layers, they're going to blend away, which I really love about these alcohol markers. Okay, so now I'm using the medium color to create more of that shadow. I don't have to go all the way to the bottom here because you know I'm going to add some darker color there, but then I don't have to decide exactly where to end it. And then I'm going to take the light color again before I move on, and I'm going to blend that line between them. Now I'm going to take the dark one and create a small dark section along the bottom of the balloon here, and along with that little, where the balloon is tied off, that little piece. What is that piece? What do you call that piece on the balloon where you tie it? Then I'm taking the medium color and I'm going over the line between the medium and the dark to blend it out a little bit. And I'm still seeing some of those brush marks in the lighter area. So I'm going to color over them again and try to blend them out. The bigger the area, more likely you are to get those brush strokes. So, but as you see in this, in my sample, the inks really blended in, and they'll soak into the paper and they kind of disappear a bit. So I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to do the same thing with the green on the balloon that says floating by to say hi. So start with the lightest color. When I made the samples, I did I'm just wondering if this is actually the green I used. because it doesn't look quite as limey. No, I think I use this one. Huh, that one says dull green. Really? No, didn't use that one. Now you're saying I should have wrote this down, right? And yes, I should have. Citrus green. Is this what I had already? No, it's not. Okay. This is what I use. Citrus green. All right. So what I was saying before I confused myself there, when I made the sample cards, I just stamped the balloon outline first, and I stamped the sentiments over the colored balloons after I had colored them and let them dry. But obviously I needed to stamp them for you, so you know, they've been stamped and now we're coloring over them. But as you can see, because we used the right ink, they are not bleeding. Although it does seem weird to color right over those sentiments. So I colored the entire area in the lightest color, the citrus green, now that I've determined that. And now I'm doing a medium area. And I'm taking the lighter color and I'm just blending over that line. And now I'm taking the darker color. And now I'm taking the medium color and then blending over that line again between the dark and the medium. This is the lightest. I'm just coloring a few spots that I think needed a little touch up. So I'm looking back at this turquoise one, and as you could see, some of those lines, brush strokes, have kind of blended away, and there's a few brush strokes in here, and as it dries I think they're going to blend away too, because you can see on the sample it looks really smooth. So we can assemble the card now, and just need a whole bunch of foam tape. So I put foam tape on both balloons. Now you don't want balloons on this side of the, or foam tape on this side of the green balloon, because it's going to overlap the blue. And what I'm going to do actually is just put a little bit of adhesive so it actually on that side there, so it sticks to the blue balloon. And so on this, on the front, it's the right side, and when you turn it over, it's going to be the left side of the balloon. And then you can see I put 2 clouds. I'm going to go ahead and put this guy down first, and then I'm going to look at all my clouds that I've colored here and decide which ones I want to put on the card. So remember, you don't want a piece of foam tape on the left back of the green balloon. I'm going to cut 2 skinny pieces again to put on the strings of the balloon. Sometimes when you cut those skinny pieces, the backing doesn't want to stay on. Okay, so I'm going to put the blue one on first. And then I'm going to put the green one down. This one, his string, where his string is, isn't quite as fussy as the birds, so I'm just going to overlap that a little bit. But if you wanted to take the tape off at the same time and kind of position them, of course you can do that. I'm just going to position him. I'm going to take this piece of tape off because it's overlapping the balloon string. So there. So now it kind of looks like the string is coming down. Whoops. And now I'm going to see which clouds I want to put on here. I like the lighter one because my color is so intense there. I'm gonna use the lighter one so there's more contrast. I'm going to put the bigger one on the right side here and the smaller one on the left. And you could put another one up here if you wanted to. Let's see. Yeah, I think I am going to put another one up there. And then you can save your other clouds for another card, or like I said, you could put some on the inside. I didn't put anything on the inside of this one, but I think I am going to put a couple of clouds here. And again, I'm just going to use some glue because of the weird shape. Sometimes the foam tape is a little easier on the weird shaped pieces because you don't have to cover up the edges, or you don't need adhesive on all the edges, but when you're gluing it flat, you feel like you need a little more. So there, just going to put a couple clouds there on the inside. And then I'll save some, whoops, save the other ones for another card. All right. We're going to do the hedgehog next, and I gave you 2 pieces of cardstock here because I wanted you to have an extra in case you wanted to play around with the stencil. And then I also gave you 2, I should have given you 2 die cuts of the clouds. So this is for my other card, but so you should have 2 of these. Now, I gave you these because I couldn't get you individual stencils. They didn't sell them individually out of the acrylic. I tried to cut them for you out of the die cut, and I could not get the die to cut through the acrylic, unfortunately. But you can use the paper just as well as a stencil. So I'm going to go ahead and use my stencil because I didn't cut myself an extra one. And we're going to cut this piece down after we're done using it. But you're just going to put your stencil over your piece of white cardstock. And you're going to use, again, your blue ink. I'm using Capri. And you're going to use either your brush or your blending tool. And now I did not do my color as intensely as I did on the last card, just to let you know. And we're going to add ink to our blending tool. And we are going to carefully, in a circular motion, add color over those openings in the die cut. To create some blue clouds. Now, if you're worried about it moving, you can tape it down. You use a low tack tape. If you don't have a removable tape, or like say a painter's tape or a low tack masking tape, um, you could always take a piece of tape, um, put it on your shirt a couple of times to get a little fuzz on the tape, and then use that, and it won't be quite as sticky. And that way, when you pull it off, it won't pull away. You know, it won't rip the paper. So I'm just lightly with some circular motion, and you can, like I said, you could use your blending brush too. Just be careful not to catch it on those jaggy parts of the cloud. And you're just going to go over each of the openings, and then you'll have some cute blue clouds. Yes, Lindsay is suggesting to use cereal boxes for stencils of die cuts, and that works too. It makes it it's a little thicker than a piece of cardstock, but you should be able to use that piece of cardstock, and I gave you a couple of them. You should be able to use them several times to create this background. And then if you use the cardstock or the cereal box, the ink will just dry. On an acrylic stencil, you just wash it off when you're done. And I think we've got a couple of cool stencils in the catalog, so I had a request from somebody to do some more cards with those. So I think that'll be another thing coming up. I'm going to put my brush aside so I actually remember to wash it off this time. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is cut this piece down. And I just want to confirm this. Yeah, we're going to cut it 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So you can use whichever part of, whoops, sorry about that, my paper cutter. You can use whatever part of the clouds that you want to use. So I'm going to use this top part. So I'm going to cut at the top just above that small cloud, and then I'm going to cut at 3.5 inches, and then I'm going to cut on the side here, and then I'm just going to cut 3.5 inches again. So now you have a 3.5 inch square. And it doesn't really matter where you cut as long as you've got clouds. And then you also want a couple of your cloud cutouts to add on. And if you don't like any of the ones you've already colored from the last card, you can go ahead and add some more ink to a white one. You notice this little one here. I just have the tiniest bit of color towards the bottom. And I imagine because that came out of coloring my thumb here, from towards the bottom of this card here. Okay, and so we can assemble this card and then we'll color our hedgehog. Now this is actually the Capri cardstock. The card is it's a 4x4 card, so the cardstock is 4x8. So on the 8-inch side, I'm going to score it 4 inches. I'm scored on the darker side, so the darker side is on the outside of the card. I am going to put my raspberry cardstock. I want the darker side, so I'm going to put the adhesive on the lighter side. And I'm going to position it towards the bottom right of the card. So I'm going to lay my 1/8 inch border on the right and the bottom. And I have a wider bottom border on the left and the top. And then I'm going to do the opposite for the clouds. I think I'm going to position it this way. And again, I'm going to put it towards the top left. So I have an 1/8 inch border at the top and the left, and a wider border to see that raspberry peeking through on the right and the bottom. And now I'm going to color my hedgehog and my balloon. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, so the color of my hedgehog is earth brown. And I'm going to use the mid color, the medium color. Yeah. And with the medium color, I'm just going to color, I guess this is really his underbelly here. Just kind of towards the border of his quills. And his arm. And then I'm going to use the darker color to color his quills. Are they quills on a hedgehog? Or is it just hair? Not a question I've ever asked before. I don't think they're quills. I think it is just like long hair. That being said, this could be a porcupine and not a hedgehog, I guess. I think is it at the Buffalo Zoo? I don't know, no, the Buffalo Zoo had the baby wallaby. Somebody had a baby porcupine recently. So cute. They're one of those animals that if you go to the zoo, they're like constantly asleep, so you can't and they curl up, so you can never get a good view of them. So I'm just kind of trying to add some darker areas over some of the lines, just to get a little bit of shading on him. And then I'm going to go back with my medium and blend over the line between his underbelly and his back to blend that area a little more. Maybe make his feet a little darker. And the colored over the string to give that a little more definition. I don't want to make him too dark. And I just need a green to make, to do his leaves on his flower. And then I'm going to use the same pink that I'm going to use on the blue to color his flower. So I'm coloring just the center of the flower, the light pink, and then I'm using the dark. This is almost a highlighter pink on the petals. And this is Bright Pink Blend, which it definitely is a bright pink. They are quills per Google. Okay, good to know. Thank you. I guess you don't really want to pet a porcupine if they're, I mean, a hedgehog either if they're quills. Okay, so I'm going to color the whole balloon with the lightest pink, the lightest bright pink. I tried to use a variety of colors for coloring on all these balloons so you could see what they looked like in all different colors, so that you could pick and choose when making your own cards. Not everybody likes the same colors. And of course, whoever you're sending them to. Okay, and then the medium. I'm going to take the light again and blend over that line. And then the darkest. I did not put what color markers I used for each of them in the directions. You know, I just, because you can see, because I knew you were going to be using your own tools, but if you did want to know which colors anything were for, if you were interested in getting some of the markers and you wanted to know what the particular color I used was, just let me know. I'd be happy to share that information. Colored outside the lines in a couple of spots, so I'm just touching it up with my white gel pen. I really need to get a new white gel pen. Okay. So that's all the coloring on this guy, and we can put him on his card. Oh, you know what? We didn't put the sparkles on the fox, so I will do that after I put the sparkles on this guy. Sorry about that. All right, so this balloon, I'm not going to worry about putting a piece of foam tape on the string, because you could see it's behind him. So you don't have to worry about making sure it's securely attached, because he's going to hold it down for you. He's good. All right, so I'm going to put the balloon down first. I want to turn it a little that way on the diagonal, and kind of connect his hand with the string there. And then add some clouds. Okay, so I use the bitty sparkles on him. I am not going to put glue down for these guys because they are so tiny and they tend to stick a little better. They're tricky. So that just gives the card a little extra sparkle there. Sorry, I was reaching back to get some more for the other card. All right, and then we got to put some on him. And these are the bitty sparkles too. I know, they're so tiny, they're hard to work with. But I mean, for something so tiny, they really do sparkle nicely. They sparkle nicely in your rug too when you drop them. Oh. So there you go. All right, just one more card. The bunny and the mouse. And again, we're back to a standard size card, 8.5 by 5.5. So on the on the 8.5 inch side, we're scoring at 4 1/4. This guy we're just going to leave white and let all the color pop come from our critters and our balloons. I'm going to add glue again to the back. This time I'm trying to make sure not to put the glue on the stitched line, because I think on the other one I put it on the stitched line and it came through that stitching a little bit. Things you learn as you experiment. I'm going to make sure that's sealed. And then again, I'm putting the small one at the top, near the top of the card. This one, it's not going to matter as much, but I'm still lining up the left edge of the die cut with the folded edge of the card in case it doesn't line up on the side. It lines up pretty well, and being white on white, it's not like you're going to notice if it doesn't line up quite perfectly. So, so we just have to do some coloring on here. And yellow, and let's see here, gray, and blue, a little bit of pink, purple, not sure which gray I used, so I will experiment there. Purple. Purple, and did I get the green? Nope, I didn't get the green. Okay, I think that's everything. So you fall down the slippery slope of buying marker colors. Okay, I'm going to color the animals first. And let me just see. Yeah, this is brown gray. And I'm going to color with the lightest version first. So while I'm coloring here, I'll let you know that the next class is the Christmas card class on November 1st. It's another Tuesday. The kits have been mailed or will be delivered tomorrow. you will get extra paper and extra embellishments in the kit because everybody got a full embellishment kit and a bunch of papers. So whatever I didn't use, you're getting, so you will be able to make some extra cards along with the 12. There's going to be 12 of them, so be prepared. I know not everybody will make it through the whole class, but the recording will be up as usual. I just said this and I had this huge fear that like we weren't really recording right now, but we are. So I'll be sending those directions out soon. All right, so now I don't want these guys to be too dark, so I'm going to stick with the light and the medium. So I'm just adding some shading with the medium now. And then I don't have any other classes scheduled right now, but I am working on some ideas. We'll probably only have, after the Christmas card class, maybe 1 or 2 classes for the rest of the year, because I know as we approach the holidays, everybody gets busier. I was thinking about doing a class. I'm just going back to the lighter color to blend over that line. I accidentally picked the dark one. Oops. Gift card holder ideas for for gifts and things. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, let me know. I'm going over his whiskers and his nose with the light color again. I didn't use the medium, but I don't want his face to get too dark. So I just want to add a little bit of shading there. And then I'm going to do, before I switch marker colors, I'm going to do the mouse. And again, starting with the light color gray. Yep, mouse, pink in his ears would be cute. I did put pink in the bunny's ears, but pink in the mouse's ears will be cute too. I can do that here. Make it a little different. The other thing that I see that a lot of people do is put a little pink on their cheeks. So I'm going to try that and see how that works too. Pink. I don't know, would the pink show up on the orange of the fox? I'm not so sure, but I could have tried. You would have to use a deeper pink on the hedgehog since he's a darker brown. I'm just trying to add a little bit of shading with that medium, but not too much. Okay, where's I have a very pale pink here. It's called pale pink, in fact. So I'm gonna add a little on the mouse's cheeks. Yeah, that kind of works. I don't know. Can you see that? It's kind of cute. Just a little bit. And I'll make the inside of his ears pink. And I'll make the inside of the bunny's ears pink. You could also make a brown bunny or a brown mouse if you want. I always think gray. I always like gray, or white bunnies too, but white bunnies aren't as fun to color, so I'm gonna add a little, give him little pink cheeks too. There. Oh, yeah, well, I'll put these up here so you can see them a little better when I move on to my balloons. So I'm gonna do a yellow balloon. Oh, I gotta color my mouse's overalls. So I'm gonna use the light color, True Blue again. And then I'm going to use some medium on the pocket. And then just like above his feet, like the cuffs. I know there's no drawn cuffs, but I'm imagining there's cuffs. And then kind of around his neckline, his straps. Be a little shadow from his head there. And I'm going to blend that line out a little bit with the lighter. Okay, now I'm going to make a yellow balloon. This is light yellow. Going over it a second time to kind of blend in those brush lines. Now I'm going to get the medium color. Medium color is always the easiest one to find since it's the middle. It's the light and the dark one. You got to be careful about which end you're pulling off, you're opening to color with. I'm actually going to pull, I think, this medium color up a little more. All right, and now we need a purple balloon, and this is Lavender Blend. Whoops. Never said I was good at coloring in the lines. thank goodness for the white gel pen. I tell you, that's like the best tip I've ever learned. All right, I got my medium purple. You don't have to make your deeper color area as big as I'm making mine. It's whatever you like. I'm just more of a bold color person, so I always tend to go for those deeper colors. I think I used the other purple on the other sample, now that I'm looking at it, which is purple as opposed to lavender. But I like them both. I'll write them down next time. When you get into coloring them, you think you're going to remember. And I'm also, these markers are also new to me, so I'm not as familiar with the colors, but you just get into the groove of coloring them and you forget to make notes. Okay, and now I'm going to do the green one, which is jade green. Whoops. Medium. Oops, I didn't go back and blend the medium, the light with the medium. I was blending the medium over the dark, and now I'm going to blend the light over the medium. There we go. And go back to my bag of clouds and get a plain white. Although, I mean, you could put a, if you wanted to put a colored one on, you can do that. And we're just going to put foam tape on all these guys. try to cut a couple of skinnier pieces than I cut to put in the bunny's ears. The balloons overlap just slightly, so you just don't want to put foam tape on the left side, like on the very left edge of the yellow one. You can just move it in, move the piece in a little bit. Whoops. So the left edge, so it would be the right on the back. I'm going to move it in a little more, actually, just in case I do want to overlap it more than is on the sample card. And I'm just cutting little, oh, I didn't cut those narrow enough, did I? Okay. Narrow pieces for my strings. Lots of little pieces. Okay. All right, so I'm going to put the purple one down first. And kind of put him up high to the left. And then I'm going to put the blue one, or sorry, the yellow one overlap him a little bit, turn him so they're both coming down towards our mouse here. I'm kind of overlapping that string. It's not perfect, but it gives it the idea. And then I'm going to take the foam tape off both, the backing pieces off both the green balloon and the bunny, so I can kind of position them so they're not, so the bunny's not overlapping the mouse. Okay, so I've got the green one kind of up right there. And I've got the bunny's hand on the string there. And then I'm just going to put the cloud up in the top right corner. And now we can put our bitty sparkles on. If you don't enjoy futzing around with these guys, but you do like the sparkle they bring, Um, Stickles, which we've used in the past, work great. You can make little dots of the stickles. It's a glitter glue. And it comes in a bunch of different colors, and it gives you that little sparkle without having to futz around with these guys and try to pick them up and glue them down. Just make sure if you do use them, you put them aside long enough so they dry completely. You don't want to stack your cards and smush your glue onto the back of something else. So that's just, it's always good to have a drying spot for them. So that's an option too. So those are our cards for today. Whoops, a little too low, huh? I hope you enjoyed those. If you have any questions, let me know. Like I said, if you want to know the colors, but I did kind of use the full spectrum here of the markers because I wanted you guys to see the colors and have some variety. And if you need another stencil, cloud stencil, let me know. You should have plenty of cloud cutouts. And have a good night, and I will see you again soon in a few weeks. Thank you.